I was supposed to be at the dentist. I even told her I'd be gone for hours. But the appointment got rescheduled last minute, and I figured I'd surprise her with lunch. I walked through the front door and heard voices upstairs. I froze at the bottom of the stairs, and then I heard it. Laughter. Hers. And a man's voice. I crept up, heart racing, and pushed open our bedroom door. She was there, on top of a man wearing a sanitation worker uniform. The vest was still on, boots on the floor, and she saw me and smiled. Tuesday, 11:17 a.m. I had just parked in front of our house after getting a text from my dentist, appointment canceled. Power outage. Reschedule. I texted back yes. I figured I'd swing by home and grab the lunch I packed. Maybe surprise Mia while I was at it. We'd been married 5 years. She worked from home most days. Said she liked the quiet. Said I distracted her when I was around too much. I unlocked the front door and stepped in. At first, everything was silent. Then I heard her laugh. From upstairs. Followed by a man's voice. Deep. Low. Crude. I froze. The house smelled like citrus cleaner and fabric softener. Everything was neat. Our wedding photos still hung by the hallway mirror. None of it made sense. My hands started shaking. Another laugh. I crept up the stairs, one at a time, careful not to make a sound. The door to our bedroom was half shut. I reached out and pushed it open, and that's when I saw it. Her bare back. Her hair tied up. She was straddling a man. A big guy. Shirtless. Sweaty. Still wearing bright orange sanitation pants and a reflective vest tossed half off his shoulder. His black work boots sat on the carpet, leaving stains on the beige floor I vacuumed every Sunday. He was grunting. She was laughing. She turned her head casually and locked eyes with me. For a second, I thought she'd panic, or scream, or apologize. But no. She smiled. Hey, honey, she said, breathless. You're home early. The man turned, confused. He didn't say anything, just blinked. Still lying under her. I couldn't move. My feet wouldn't listen. Mia leaned over and kissed the guy on the cheek and whispered something. Then she slid off him, grabbed a robe, and tied it around her waist like she was about to make pancakes. She walked toward me. You look pale, she said. Sit down. Don't faint. I stepped back. She reached for my hand. You're in shock. I get it. But come on. You're not really surprised, are you? I stared at her. What is this? I asked, barely above a whisper. This. She pointed behind her. That's Calvin. He collects our trash every Thursday. I figured, why not thank him personally? The guy shrugged like it was a joke. And Mia? She laughed. She actually laughed. And I broke. Right there in the hallway. And she didn't flinch. She made coffee. Like nothing happened. She stood barefoot in the kitchen in her robe, humming to herself. I sat at the table, hands clenched together, still trembling. I hadn't said much since I walked in on them. I hadn't screamed. Hadn't thrown anything. Just stood there, like furniture. Mia poured 2 mugs. Set one down in front of me. Cream and 1 sugar, right? She asked, like it was a normal Thursday morning. I didn't touch it. She sat across from me and sipped her own, smiling. That face, she said, giggling. Like a kicked puppy. Don't be so dramatic. Who was he? I finally asked. I told you. Calvin. He handles the trash on our block. Lives 2 streets over. Single. Kind of cute in a rugged, sweaty way. You invited him into our bedroom. She raised an eyebrow. Correction. I invited him into my bedroom. You just pay the mortgage. My chest tightened. Why? She leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice sweet like poison. Because I was bored. Because you stopped looking at me like a woman and started looking at me like an obligation. Because you never say no. You just nod, and agree, and wait for instructions. I thought we were. I started. Happy, she cut in. Comfortable? Safe. She laughed. That's your problem. You confuse comfort with love. You think just showing up is enough. I never cheated, I said, quietly. She rolled her eyes. That's because no one wanted you, she said. You walk around like a ghost. A soft, apologetic ghost. No spine. No bite. I looked away. She leaned even closer. Whispered. You really thought I was loyal to you? You who asked permission to breathe. Tears burned behind my eyes. I swallowed them. She reached into her phone and started scrolling. Want to see something fun? I didn't answer. She turned the screen to face me. A text thread. Photos. More men. One was a guy in overalls. Another wore a faded security uniform. One was clearly in a basement, tools hanging behind him. This one fixed the sump pump last month, she said. Had hands like stone. Couldn't resist. I felt like I was going to be sick. And you never even noticed, she said. Because you trust me. Like a fool. My voice cracked. I still love you. She laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. Of course you do, she said. You don't even know how not to. You love like a doormat loves shoes. You let people wipe themselves on you. I stood up, dizzy. You should have fought back when you saw us, she said. Thrown something. Screamed. But you just stood there like a deer. I didn't want to hurt you, I said. That's the saddest part, she replied, sipping her coffee. She stood and kissed me on the cheek. Thanks for breakfast. And walked out the door, smiling. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. I sat in the living room with the blinds drawn and stared at the carpet where her coffee had dripped the morning before. There was a faint ring from her mug on the end table, and I couldn't bring myself to wipe it away. My phone buzzed once. A reminder from the calendar. Pick up Mia's dry cleaning. I deleted it. That was the moment. The exact second something in me shifted. Not rage. Not pride. Just quiet resolve. She thought I'd stay frozen. That I'd cry, beg, maybe offer to go to counseling while she kept slipping out for janitors and handymen behind my back. She thought I'd forgive her again. Because I'd always forgiven. Always believed. But she made one mistake. She didn't hide the proof. I started with her phone. She never changed her passcode. Same birthday she always used. I didn't even feel guilty. It was like opening a folder labeled How I Used You. There were texts going back almost a year. Not just Calvin. Not just the man from the sump pump job. There was a guy from a local junk removal company. Another one who cleaned gutters. One of them even left her a voice memo. Next time I'll wear the uniform longer. Kinda turns you on, doesn't it? I saved everything. Screenshots. Audio files. Even calendar invites she made to yoga that matched timestamps with motel receipts I pulled from our shared card. Then I checked the finances. She'd been using our joint account to pay for meals. Motel rooms. A massage gift card she sent to one of them with a note. For those strong shoulders. I copied everything into a folder and named it something neutral. Q1 receipts. In case she stumbled across it. I still hadn't confronted her. I didn't speak when she came home that night. Didn't flinch when she asked if I'd done laundry. I'll get to it, I said. She rolled her eyes. But I saw it. The flicker. The way she looked at me a second longer than usual. Like maybe I was a little too calm. She didn't know what was coming. The next morning, I booked an appointment with a lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer. Not yet. A contract lawyer. I wanted to know what I legally owned, where she was exposed, what protections I had. She thought the house was half hers. It wasn't. My name only. Purchased before the marriage. Paid in full from an inheritance she never cared to ask about. The car? Also mine. Insurance under my name. Registered to me. She mocked me for being boring. For being predictable. But predictable men build stable lives. And now she was standing on ground I owned with shoes I bought, while texting men who worked garbage routes. I wasn't ready to strike. Not yet. But I knew where to hit. And when I did, she wouldn't even hear the blow coming. She was in the shower when I made the call. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. The lawyer answered on the second ring. We're clear to proceed, I said. He didn't ask if I was sure. By noon, two things happened. First, I transferred 80% of our shared funds into a new account under my name. Perfectly legal, since the account had been seeded with my inheritance and business income. The joint portion? I left enough for her to survive. Just enough so she couldn't claim I'd stranded her. Second, I revoked her access to the car. She tried to leave for a hair appointment around 2 p.m. Why won't the car start? She yelled from the garage. I had it towed, I said flatly. She appeared in the doorway, eyes narrowed, wet hair in a towel. You what? It's registered to me. I don't want you driving it anymore. You can't do that. I just did. She blinked. For the first time since this began, no smirk. What's going on? She asked. You gave Calvin a ride last week. In my car. Back seat. I checked the dash cam. That was a lie. We didn't have a dash cam. But the way her face changed told me everything. I was bluffing. She folded. You went through my stuff? She said. You left your stuff everywhere. She stormed into the kitchen, pacing like a caged animal. You're finally growing teeth, huh? She snapped. No, I said. I'm just done being the doormat you use to wipe off other men. She laughed once, short, dry. You think you're clever. No, I said. Just tired. That night, she tried to log into our financial dashboard. Locked. She texted me from the bedroom. Did you change the passwords? I didn't reply. She came downstairs 30 minutes later, holding her phone like a weapon. Are you seriously doing this? You did this, I said. She threw the phone on the couch. You're going to make me regret this? That's your big move. No, I said. That was just the beginning. And then I handed her a manila envelope. Inside, a printout of every message, every calendar booking, every motel charge, every screenshot, labeled, dated, organized. She flipped through it in silence. When she got to the last page, she looked up. You went through my life. You ended ours. I expected rage. But what I saw? Fear. She wasn't scared of me. She was scared I finally saw her and wasn't afraid anymore. She went upstairs without a word. I heard her pacing again. Saw her light on past midnight. That was the first time she didn't laugh in days. Because the man she used to ignore was no longer looking the other way. And tomorrow would hit harder. The silence didn't last. For 2 days she barely spoke. No laughter, no passive jabs. Just pacing, whispering into her phone when she thought I was out of earshot. Then came Monday. I walked into work like nothing happened. But waiting in my inbox was an email from HR. Please report to conference room B at 11 a.m. for a policy discussion. Policy discussion? I knew what it was. And I was right. She'd filed a report, alleging I had become volatile at home, was emotionally unstable, and had weaponized private conversations to manipulate her. They didn't fire me, but they suspended me pending review. I sat in the parking lot afterward for almost an hour, watching people walk in and out of the building while I tried to stop my hands from shaking. She flipped everything. She wasn't arguing with me anymore. She was erasing me. By the time I got home, she had already packed 3 boxes of her things, stacked neatly by the front door. When I walked in, she was on the phone, loud enough for me to hear. No, I'll be out by tomorrow, she said. He's spiraling. It's sad, really. He even went through my messages. Totally violated my privacy. I just hope he doesn't hurt himself. She saw me. Didn't flinch. Just kept going. I might stay with Shannon a few nights. Or Calvin. Who knows? He's sweet. She hung up and smiled. HR said anything yet? She asked. You told them I was unstable? She shrugged. You are. Quiet rage is still rage. I haven't laid a finger on you. But you could, she said. And that's all I had to say. I stared at her. You're destroying me because I finally stood up. No, she said, stepping closer. I'm finishing you because you had the audacity to try and fight me at all. She walked to the boxes and tapped one gently. I'll take a few essentials, she said. You can keep the house. The memories. The guilt. Then she picked up a mug from the counter, our anniversary mug. The one that said still yours. She looked at it, then at me. I never was, she said. Then dropped it. It shattered at my feet. She stepped over the pieces, heels clicking like punctuation. Upstairs, she blasted music. Started pulling down clothes, shoes, jewelry. She wasn't running. She was parading, claiming victory. And in that moment, I felt like I'd lost again. The house. My job. My reputation. The silence I'd used to shield myself was now working against me. She controlled the noise. And I looked guilty just by being quiet. But that night, when she fell asleep on the couch, phone in hand, surrounded by bags, I noticed one thing. A receipt. From a check-cashing place in her purse. I read the amount, and my eyes narrowed. Because for someone so smug, she was hiding money, and she'd made a mistake, one I'd make her regret. The receipt in her purse was wrinkled, dated 2 days ago. For $1,200, cashed from a check I didn't remember writing. I stared at the logo, Easy Check Pay and Go. The name on the check? My name. But the signature? Off. Slightly wrong slant. A break in the last letter I never leave. And the memo line was blank. Mia had forged it. She'd written herself a check from my personal account, signed it as me, and cashed it through a service that didn't care to verify if the ink felt true. I sat at the kitchen table all night with that receipt. Every time I blinked, I saw the number. For $1,200. For what? A vacation with Calvin? New clothes? More motel rooms? Whatever it was mine. And now? It was evidence. The next morning, I didn't go into work, not that I could, suspended and shamed. Instead, I met with Thatcher again. She didn't need much this time. I gave her the receipt, a copy of my signature from the bank, and a scanned version of the forged check. She barely blinked. She committed financial fraud, she said. We can press charges today. I can have an investigator on this within hours. But I said no. Not yet. I want her scared first, I said. I want her to know what it feels like when control slips. We drafted a letter, a cease and desist, formal notification of the forged check, and intent to file charges pending her response. We sent a certified copy to her personal email and to her job, marked urgent. Legal matter. She got it around noon. I know, because she called me 12 minutes later. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "You're bluffing." Then, "We're even now?" You pushed, I pushed back. "Don't ruin this for both of us." And then, 5 minutes later, "Please call me." I didn't. She came home that night quiet. No heels. No music. She dropped her purse gently on the chair and walked to me in the kitchen. "Where did you find it?" she asked. I looked at her. "You left it in your bag. Like you leave everything you don't care about." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "I can explain," she said. "Save it," I replied. "You have 3 days to return every cent. Then I decide what happens." "You'd actually have me arrested?" she asked, but her voice had a tremble now. "I haven't decided what kind of man I am yet," I said. "But you're helping me figure it out." She didn't sleep that night. I heard her pacing, calling someone, whispering, crying. But I didn't go to her. Didn't ask if she was okay. Because for once, I was okay. And she was unraveling. Day 3 came and went. No money returned. No apology. Nothing. Just silence. Until Friday. I got a call from the local precinct. "Mr. Brenner?" "Yes. We received a report that you've been engaging in financial coercion and verbal threats against your spouse." My mouth went dry. "She came in yesterday," the officer continued. "Filed a statement. Claimed you were monitoring her movements, restricting her access to funds, and making veiled threats regarding her safety." I couldn't even speak. "You're not under arrest," he added. "But we recommend you retain counsel. There may be a protective order filed." After the call, I sat in my car, staring through the windshield like the world had blurred. I'd played smart, clean, calm, but she'd gone nuclear. She wasn't just trying to scare me. She was trying to destroy what was left of me, legally. I got home and found her in the kitchen, casually folding laundry like she hadn't just accused me of being dangerous. I didn't say a word. She didn't look up. "You got a call, didn't you?" she asked softly. "Yeah," I said. "From the police." "Then maybe you'll stop playing games," she said, folding a dish towel neatly. "You're not built for this." I stared at her. "You filed a false police report. You threatened me," she said, eyes meeting mine. "You implied consequences. You said you'd decide what happens." That's vague and intimidating. I almost laughed. "Almost. You forged my name and stole from me." I said. "Prove it," she said. "In court. After they freeze your accounts and you spend 10 grand on legal fees." That's when I realized she'd planned this part, too. If I went forward with charges, she'd say it was retaliation. If I backed down, she'd keep bleeding me slowly until I broke. And the worst part? It might work. That night, I got a notice. A temporary protective order had been filed. I couldn't legally confront her about the money. I couldn't touch her things. Couldn't change the locks. I couldn't even move out without giving notice to the court. I was trapped in my own house, 3 rooms away from the woman trying to burn me alive with a smile. She won that round. I knew it. She knew it. And she didn't need to say a word. But what she didn't know, what she never stopped to consider, was that her last move left a trail. Because when she filed that report, she attached a witness, a name I recognized. And that name wasn't real. She had faked it. And I had proof. She was so focused on beating me. She finally tripped over her own lie. The name on her report jumped out at me the moment I saw it. Darren Woods, witness present during threats. I stared at the printed statement. Darren Woods. There was no Darren in our circle. No friend by that name. No coworker. But I had seen that name before. And I remembered exactly where. 3 months ago, Mia had ordered new business cards online for a fake marketing startup she was supposedly launching. Just another one of her lies to look busy while I paid the bills. I remembered the site. Remembered helping her with the formatting. To test the template, she used placeholder contact info. She used the name Darren Woods. I pulled up the order on the vendor's site. There it was, an abandoned mock-up for a director of outreach business card. No real email. No real phone. Just a fake title for a fake person. She recycled the name. On a legal document. And now it was entered into police records. I sent it to Thatcher. She called me that night, voice tight with quiet excitement. She perjured herself, she said. Filing a knowingly false police report with a fabricated witness is a felony, especially if she signed it under oath. I asked what we could do. We file a countersuit, she said. Immediately. Fraud, defamation, intentional emotional distress. We got to work. The next day, my legal team filed a motion to challenge the protective order and open a criminal investigation into her statements. We didn't go public. Not yet. But we did make sure her employer received a quiet notice from our attorney. She worked remotely for a nonprofit that bragged about ethics on every page of their website. We attached the falsified witness form to the letter. No accusations. Just a question. Are you aware this document was signed by one of your employees under penalty of perjury? The next day, she got a call. I heard it from the hallway. She answered, confident at first, then quiet, then frantic. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But that's not. I never said. Wait, please don't. I stepped into the living room. She was sitting on the floor, phone in hand, face pale. What did you do? She asked, voice shaking. I followed the lie, I said. You gave it a name. They're suspending me, she whispered. Pending review. You did that, I said. She stood up, eyes wet. Not from tears, panic. You're ruining my life. No, I said calmly. You did that when you tried to fake one. She backed away like I'd slapped her. And for once, she had no words. That night, she didn't blast music. She didn't call Calvin. She sat on the back porch, hoodie pulled over her head, knees to her chest. Because for the first time in this entire war, she had no move left to make. I should have known she wasn't done. She didn't move out. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She waited. Waited while the review from her job dragged on. Waited while my countersuit sat in court limbo. Waited, still walking around the house like she had time on her side. Then, exactly 1 week after she lost her job, it hit. The headline. Brenner under investigation for coercive domestic conduct. Protective order contested. I read it 5 times. She'd gone to a blog again. The same one from before. Anonymous quotes. A blurry photo of me walking to the mailbox. Phrases like emotional manipulation, obsessive financial control, and surveillance tactics. She was feeding them the same poison again, this time dressed as her comeback story. Now she wasn't just the hurt wife. She was the survivor. And this time, people believed it faster. Social media was merciless. Comments under the article were filled with strangers calling me dangerous, weak, unstable. Somehow, she'd made me invisible in my own life. Again, and I couldn't deny the headline existed. Couldn't erase it. Even though it was fake. Even though I had proof. It didn't matter. The court process dragged. My job was still reviewing the HR complaint. My name was stained again. And she walked around humming like the war was over. She started wearing perfume again. Started buying flowers for herself. Started texting people openly in the kitchen, like she wanted me to hear her moving on. And for a moment, just a moment, I thought maybe this was it. That she'd won for real. But then I got a message. From Clara, the journalist who helped me last time. Subject line, you'll want to see this. Inside a file. An export of metadata from the blog that ran her survivor story. Buried in the data, embedded in the image upload. A geolocation tag. It wasn't from the blog office. It wasn't from some anonymous tipster. It was from inside our house. From her phone. She didn't just leak the story. She published it herself. Clara's message was short. I'll sit on this. Your move. I stared at the screen for an hour. She destroyed my job, poisoned my reputation, dragged my name through every digital sewer. All to control a story she built on lies. But now, I could end it. Completely. She didn't know yet. She was in the backyard watering fake plants she never cared about before. Smiling. She thought she'd survived me. But this wasn't survival. This was her dancing on the edge of her own cliff. And I held the push. I could have ended her. All it would have taken was one click. Clara's article was ready. Clean. Sourced. Full of screenshots and metadata proving Mia not only leaked false information, but authored it herself. Under a fake name. From inside our house. It would have cleared my name for good. Made the world see the real her. But I waited. I didn't know why at first. Maybe I wanted to savor it. Maybe I just wanted to see what it looked like when she finally realized she'd lost. I left my laptop open that night. Just enough for her to see. I went to bed early. At 1:04 a.m., I heard her footsteps downstairs. Quiet. Careful. She saw it. The open draft. The attachments. Clara's email. She knew exactly what it meant. I heard her gasp. Then silence. Then the creak of the stairs. She stood at the edge of the bed for what felt like an hour before whispering, "Please." I didn't move. She dropped to her knees on the floor next to me. Not dramatic. Not theatrical. Collapsed. Like something inside her finally broke. I was angry, she whispered. I didn't know how to stop. Every time you pushed back, it made me want to push harder. I opened my eyes. She was crying now. Barefaced. No robe. No ring. You tried to ruin me, I said. I know. You called the cops. Lied in court. You wrote that article. I know, she whispered again. I thought if I controlled the story, I could control what I'd become. I sat up. She flinched. I'm not proud of what you did to me, I said. But I'm proud of what I didn't become because of it. She covered her mouth like she might throw up. I lost my job, she said. My name's blacklisted. I can't even get an interview. I didn't answer. Please, she begged, reaching for my hand. Don't publish it. Don't finish me. I looked at her then. Really looked. The woman who laughed in my face. Mocked my trust. Slept with men who handled trash and carried grease under their nails while I paid the mortgage and folded her sweaters. She was kneeling on the same rug she once called too boring to keep. Now she couldn't afford to replace it. She was already ruined. Just not publicly. I stood and walked past her. Closed the laptop. Didn't hit send. Didn't click publish. Didn't win. But didn't lose. She stayed there, on her knees, hands shaking. Why? She whispered. Why wouldn't you do it? I picked up the flash drive off the desk and dropped it into a drawer. Because some stories are louder when they end quietly. She sobbed into the floor. And I left the room. I don't know if I made the right choice. But I made mine. And now I ask you. What would you do in my place?